Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Um, yeah. So
Welcome to Rock the World with Kay and Michelle. We explore stories of courage, resilience, and innovation, highlighting both the similarities and diverse experiences that unite us all.
it does. How is everybody? I'm Michelle from Movement Lesson, Michelle Turner. And this is Kay from Neurodivergence and Special Needs, but she's an advocator for herself and but for the world. And so we've just joined forces for rocking the world. This isn't about necessarily to do with special needs. It's about being parents, it's about being kids, it's about being young adults, old adults, and how to move in the world.
Real life.
Real life.
The experiences we discuss on this show are for educational purposes only. Please do not substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment.
Absolutely. And also too, will there'll be natural pauses. Again, as things are spontaneous, and not, and we don't edit out those pauses. So enjoy the content and enjoy our conversations. And we welcome everybody for if you would like to be a guest speaker, let us know. Yep.
It's important to push past perceived limitations.
Absolutely. And it's also important to just get to know somebody and getting to know yourself sometimes and getting to know your child or your clients just a little bit better, not just for empathy, but just getting to know them and that we're all different, but that's pretty cool.
I can, and will continue to prove you wrong.
Yes. And my motto is I can outwork anybody, which they say that's the worst thing you can tell somebody, but I'm pretty close. Yeah. Yep. So today we are talking about neurodivergence and special needs, but how to encourage and not so much as a give up, but understanding that, I mean, sometimes we just cap out, change our minds, whatever, it's okay. And a big one for me is can't versus can't. Understanding when you just can't do something versus you just don't even know it's possible. So you can't do it, but you don't know you can do it. And so, and just to talk about all that, because I think expectation again of others is really big on that area of life.
Having medical, physical, and cognitive limitations needs extra encouragement for physical abilities, cognitive, and learning style.
Right, but your encouragement has to be not try harder. Nobody tries harder than Kay or any of our munchkins. Again, going from being just a child to having to work to try and mandate a lot of things that we feel is necessary in their life to make them better, you know what I mean, is stuff we just didn't even have to experience. And this is where you really have to get into that realm of encouragement, but understanding not so much that they have limitations, we all do, but when to work around that or realize that they need that extra time or care. Kay needs extra time for taking her test, let's say, and that's okay. It's not that she doesn't know the content, she just needs extra time. Yeah.
We need time to explore and achieve independence no matter what we are doing.
Right. And it doesn't matter. I just started playing golf. You think I'm going to look like Tiger Woods in 2 days? No, I need a lot of time. Human beings take a long time to develop. At 6 months old, you're not driving a car. Mm.
Rehabilitation is tricky, especially medical, like seizure free.
That's a big one. A lot of my clients, I have to work around, even, I hate to say it, their seizure schedule. It just, because if they have a seizure, some of them just get knocked out, and some I continue working on the table around it. So it all depends. But anyway, I am Michelle. I'm a mother. My mother's side comes first. My son got very sick at 13 months. And they said eventually he would never walk or talk. His goal at 4 was to say mom. They said he was mentally retarded, which, again, no offense to anybody, that was a diagnosis back then. He's now 22, but that's what I was dealing with. And this is why the law was changed, not because of me, but there's ways that we have learned, again, by encouragement and not giving up. That's what the topic is, where we've changed just the kind of way we say things around people, and that's okay. We're not trying to, in a sense, change what's already established. We're just offering a different perspective to it. But now I work with thousands of children. And again, because we get to do these podcasts and I can do online courses and so forth, you might never meet Kay or myself, but we're here to offer our encouragement and our wisdom with a collaboration. And that's what we're here. That's what this podcast is about. So let's talk.
When you don't know something is possible, it's not that you can't do it, but you don't know you can do it. I loved Space Mountain, Thunder Mountain, and Splash Mountain. They are fast rides at Disney, and I don't usually get to go fast.
Oh, they're a cool one. And what Kay, you and I, then we have to do, and when we get this going, if you haven't done it yet, the Guardian of the Galaxy ride at Epcot is really cool because the seats move around, and so you're going around Mars, and you're just doing like this, and it goes around. Like, normally you have to sit straight and go and crank your neck, but this, it moves, so it shows you. That's pretty cool. Anyway, staying on topic, when, let's say right now, this is a perfect example. Kay maybe didn't know that ride existed. So it's not on her version of, I want to set a goal financially, time, vacation, whatever, to go to Epcot to go ride this ride. Right. So when I say, oh, Kay can't ride that ride, right? It's not that she can't ride it, right? This is one of the things that's great about Disney, because they were the forefront of neurodivergencies, because they really try to, I wouldn't say cater, but offer your experience is just as important as mine. And so then but she can't do it because she didn't even know the ride exists. Now that she knows that the rides exist, it changes her mind frame. And so when you're asking a child, or you're expecting a child to create a milestone, or to be able to ace a test, or see the blackboard, right? We're now going into the realm of, do they even know it's possible? To say they can't, oh, my kid can't pay attention. Well, maybe they can't see. And that's where I come in, and they say, "Oh, wow, I didn't realize my child has directionality, but their vision's really bad. They need glasses." And it might be something as simple as that, but you have to realize, just because someone is special needs doesn't mean they can't do a whole bunch of things. Their bodies, that's the reason they are special needs, don't even know it's possible. So we need to change the level
I
of
operate a
possibility.
quad and snowmobile.
That's fun. Especially because snowmobiling has the bounce.
Have you heard of Welcome to Holland poem by Emily Pearl Kingsley?
No.
I am often asked to describe the experience of raising a child with a disability, to try to help people who have not shared that unique experience to understand it, to imagine how it would feel. It's like this. When you're going to have a baby, it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy. You buy a bunch of guidebooks and make your wonderful plans. The Colosseum, the Michelangelo David, the gondolas in Venice. You may learn some handy phrases in Italian. It's all very exciting. After months of eager anticipation, The day finally arrives. You pack your bags and off you go. Several hours later, the plane lands. The stewardess comes in and says, "Welcome to Holland." Holland? You say. What do you mean, Holland? I signed up for Italy. I'm supposed to be in Italy. All my life I've dreamed of going to Italy. But there's been a change in the flight plan. They've landed in Holland and there you must stay. The important thing is that they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place, full of pestilence, famine and disease. It's just a different place. So you must go out and buy new guidebooks. And you must learn a whole new language. And you will meet a whole new group of people you would never have met. It's just a different place. It's slower paced than Italy, less flashy than Italy. But after you've been there for a while and you catch your breath, you look around. And you begin to notice that Holland has windmills. And Holland has tulips. Holland even has Rembrandts. But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy. And they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they had there. And for the rest of your life, you will say, yes, that's where I was supposed to go. That's what I had planned. And the pain of that will never, ever, ever, ever go away. Because the loss of that dream is a very, very significant loss. But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to Italy, you may never be free to enjoy the very special, the very lovely things about Holland.
That's really true. And um also too, not that I carry it with me as an angst, but the sensation or knowing that what my son went through was my fault. Um, and people go, it wasn't your fault. Did I do my due diligence? Did I do all that was possible? The answer will be no, and to go all through that experience with him. And so it's not that you ended up in Holland. For some parents, it's like, but I knew I was getting on the wrong plane and I did it anyway. But what I try and tell people, and this goes into the encouragement factor, we're all wiser 5 minutes after the fact. The shoulda, coulda, woulda. When
Mhm.
people come to me and say, but this is because of the birth process, this is because of, guys, we're here. We are here right now. It's okay. But if you think you can go back on anything in your life, not just this, it's physically impossible. You can't do that to yourself. You can't do that to your family. You can't do that to I can go on and on. It's not even about regret. Regret is, oh, I should have had, chicken parmesan instead of veal parmesan. That's regret. This doesn't even touch to most people the realm of regret because again, regret saying I made a choice for this. And again, you just get like, surprise, we're here.
Yeah.
And that really is so important that we don't have see that regret or that angst in our children when we're with them. We're not here to compare our children, no matter they are. All kids are different in that aspect, and let their personalities come out. But again, we have to stop and encourage each other for enjoying where we're at instead of the grass is always greener on the other side. And that's really important.
Doctors told my parents that I wouldn't walk or talk. My birth was uncertain as I was born unconscious, had seizures around the same time, and had to be transferred to another hospital better suited for my needs.
Yeah, that's another big one when I see a parent that's pregnant, especially when they have one child with special needs, and that's where I'm asking what the birth set up. when you get transported, let's say your mom is also in some kind of medical distress. Now you have mom at one hospital and you have a child at another hospital, right? And then where's dad going and the family going? Are they seeing mom or are they seeing the child? And I tell anybody with they feel that their pregnancy is a high risk or their peace of mind is a high risk to please make sure you're delivering that baby in a hospital that's all inclusive that they can handle your needs as well as your child in the trauma area.
Normal pregnancy doesn't mean anything.
No, right, even right now, and we won't get off topic. Right now, in this, the data is it's the most unsafe time to have a baby. It was for a parent, for a mother. It was more safe to have a baby in 1980 than it is now, as far as even in just the mother's welfare. Just because we're in the 21st century doesn't mean they know how to make babies. It just, I don't get it, but it's hard right now.
Growth mindset and trial and error learning is important. This
Yes.
means to work on their child for their specific achievements versus the weight and fear topical approach.
Yeah, yeah. That is the biggest complexity I see, especially with the cerebral palsy board. Now, the cerebral palsy board is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but this, I'm not sure if my child has CP. They think it gets created. The cerebral palsy happened, right? What they don't realize, the way that they should be spoken to is we don't know what the severity is going to be from mild to severe spastic. And so the doctors are waiting to see, does the baby fail or does the baby progress or at what level? And what you understand is since the doctor's not saying right now your child has CP, that they're waiting, they're thinking like you don't, like it's catchy, like it's like a virus that like you're either gonna get it or not. And that's really a shame because parents aren't being encouraged, and this is what we're talking about here. I tell people if you hear the word cerebral palsy or you've had birth trauma, act like you have it. Get right involved now with your child's lives. Everything you need to know, get no. And if you don't have it, woohoo! But if if it's happened, it's happened.
I attended 2 track practices a week and participated in the stretching as much as I could, then walked laps in my walker. I ran the 100-meter at home games. Even though I competed against myself, along with my family, my coaches, teammates, and spectators cheered me on.
Absolutely. And let's look at that. What is true inability or abilities? When someone is medically, complex, you would know it with my son. If he doesn't get his medication, he could die within a month. Um, but again, you wouldn't know it by looking at him. Someone could have physical or again that cognitive where they're not able or can't do something, or it could be all three things, right? There could be paralysis or severe cognitive impairment. There could be financial restrictions that you have. Having a child that's special, to some people, man, that's a lot of money. You know what I mean? You know, and do you know what a power wheelchair is these days, guys? This is where, you know, I could get a Mercedes probably cheaper than a power wheelchair. And again, in some states, they make it or insurances these abilities, but in not some you don't.
And quicker.
Absolutely. Quicker, a power wheelchair will make someone way more independent and quicker, and their ability to get around on their own instead of waiting to be pushed. Mm, 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 mm.
You can probably get a car quicker than wheelchair.
Oh yeah, the waiting and
Oh.
let's add in getting the car modified for the wheelchair. That's a whole other, you know. So now you have a yacht and you have a you have a Mercedes. So there's that. And but also too again, guys, lack of awareness, it comes also because of lack of opportunity. When it's not that someone even doesn't know that they can, sometimes you're not given the tools to make a chance. So even guys, even if you're like a love is baseball, right? Donate a glove. It could mean that one area where that child can either play ball or not because they can't even afford the glove. So they will not have the experiences that their peers will have just based off of the equipment. It could be something that simple, something that you know that you can be that could be your encouragement. It's not just like yay, but you're actually giving someone that extra tools. I was always about with my teacher, what do you need? You need paper? I got him a whole carton of paper, not a ream, things like that, because my child couldn't do homework because the teacher didn't have the paper to print the homework on. There's always that we can be involved in our community's life for encouragement, not just because they have special needs, but I always made sure if my son was involved to make him successful, I had to make you successful. So I always knew that was a great tool for me to bring in this world.
Prefer to sign over my device sometimes because sometimes it was hard for me to navigate to the right picture when I still had pictures on my device. And then when my device became completely text-based, it was faster for me sometimes to finger spell than to try to accurately hit each key to spell on my device.
Right. And that's what worked for you. But sometimes there's a lot of trial and error. And so the don't give up, sometimes it's just as important for the parents as it is for the kids because you could be so frustrated that your device gets thrown across the room because you're a kid being asked to adult. I don't know how many kids, even adults, could sit there and do what you do on a communication device. And but adults, like again, we've covered this in other podcasts. Please watch them, guys. Where Kay's had devices that just didn't suit her.
Yeah.
But she didn't have to conform. She knew enough. She had that, and that's why she's doing what she's doing to say, did you look at me? This is not what I'm doing.
What were some of your breakthroughs with Graham when he was given the right support?
Big breakthroughs. Not only that I became his mobility person, I had to work on him. People think, oh, even if it's great. And I had people in my life, speech, PT, and all that. But you have this window at Wednesday at 3 o'clock, and let's say they have a meeting, they're sick or whatever. Now the window gets moved. Now it's 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maybe a month, or your person leaves. So I really learned, chronic as Graham was, I had to be there. I was a free aide at the school for Foundation for Blind. If they, I every day I asked them, I was dropping off, Graham, do you need help today? Yeah, so and so called in sick, whatever. I was there. I did all the field trips. I became a Cub Scout den leader. I did karate. I did not only drop my child off at karate, I belted up. And I did 6 years of karate. I'm a red belt with a black stripe. Both my boys are black belts. But again, I was involved. The biggest thing that I can tell you, every day, Graham had to do something he couldn't do yesterday, either through exposure or time or repetition, whatever is your verbiage. But I just knew even back then, as long as his brain was progressing, just as how school works, as long as that progression is there, he was going to be successful at his thing, at something. But if he was regressing, which he did a lot. If he didn't have his medication, he'd go down and then he'd start to come back. I had that constant until he was about 7, that regression progression. And that was my ticket to get out of this.
Small progress leads to big results over time.
Yep. My other son asked, why are we taking turns? I said, you're learning how to drive. And he's like, Mom. And I said, do you see the red light, green light? I said, adults are the worst at turn taking. We are still being told how to take turns. Red light, green light. So you are learning how to take turns because you are learning how to drive. So, and it took that long.
I'm not a fan of wheelchair bound. If I'm home, the only time I'm in my wheelchair is if I'm at the kitchen table or my desk. When I'm at a show or a movie, I prefer to transfer.
Yeah, I mean, wheelchairs aren't comfortable, and a wheelchair is made for everybody the same, like going to the gym. I'm not a fan of equipment-based gyms where I have to sit. I'm a woman, I'm 5'6", I have narrow shoulders, whatever. I like free weights. I like working out where I have my equipment and it works around my body. Um, that is understandable for me, but I don't think a lot of people realize that for someone with special needs. It's more like be grateful you have a wheelchair, kind of thing versus, what works for you.
Even when I was trying to get VOC rehab involved, they asked my dad why college. He
Mhm.
was like, why not? Also, they claimed that they never dealt with someone like me.
Yes, but they can make that same statement about anybody that walks through that campus. Yeah. My son is graduating with 2.5 degrees.
Mm.
So he'll have urban planning, political science, a minor in Russian. The kid that they said would never talk is minoring in Russian. The only reason he didn't major in Russian because he would have had to have gone to Uzbekistan and or or Moldova to learn full immersion, which again, this is where his special needs come into play. What's he going to eat in Uzbekistan versus here? He's got a very limited diet because of the autism. Flying, I would have to have flown with him, which has been fine, but he would have had to have been alone there. I can't suddenly move to Uzbekistan for, him to do it. So again, the considerations that have to go through my child's life. Now, for him to major in Russian, is it going to get him somewhere like a job in Phoenix, Arizona? You know what I mean? So we didn't do that course. Now, urban planning in Phoenix is a much more resourceful avenue for him.
Dangers of learned helplessness in neurodivergent and special needs individuals. It is really hard for a child to do it on their own. They need guidance. When they don't have support during their early life,
This is in every aspect. I mentioned I was a den leader. I do not look good in khaki. I was a super den leader. We did survival bracelets, we did camping, we did fishing, we did all of these things because a little boy, Robert, came up to me and he's like, I told my dad we were going to do all these things. And he said, no, you're not. You're not going to get any of that. And then just that alone, I went out of my way to make sure, not only for my son, but these boys had the experience. Out of 14 boys, I'm proud to say that 11 are Eagle Scouts and one is a Life Scout, which is my son. He's a Life Scout. And I couldn't be prouder of these kids, especially now seeing what they're doing for the world. But I told the parents when they went from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts, this is not the time where you back off. This is now when you have to get more involved. Because if you want your child to be an Eagle Scout, you still have to show them how this is done. And that guidance just doesn't go away as a parent, even when your kids are 24. And that's what the best thing is about the world. We're not birds. We don't say, go fly. You know what I mean? And you're done.
it's about shifting the conversation from you can't to let's find a way,
Right.
and from it's impossible to what's possible right now.
Right. Most people in the world see your limitations, not just you, me too, versus your possibilities. We're judged on what we did, not judged on what we can do.
When I started riding, I needed the help of a leader and two side walkers, one of which was an occupational therapist assisting me with my poor head neck control and weak core strength. After 13 years, I transitioned to the elite discipline of paradressage. It is when the horse and rider perform a test in a 20-meter by 60-meter arena that is ridden from memory and follows a prescribed pattern of movements. Besides giving me the therapeutic benefits of riding, this challenges me to learn dressage vocabulary, patterns, and autonomy as I control an equine on my own, off lead.
I did dressage when I was a teenager in Germany. It was pretty cool. Um, and and that's when those horses get the horse is very intelligent. They get pretty cheeky. You think you're about to do this way, and if the horse breaks you and goes straight instead of crosses over, boy, your coach comes running out because they don't want the horse to be more powerful than you are.
Personality.
Yep, to say the least. And so all of this, guys, is really important. But again, to say that Kay was independent on a horse from the first day, no, you have to learn, like each horse is a different height, each horse is a different width. Each horse is, some are really cheeky. You got to watch those little buggers because, not that they'll try and buck you per se, but those exist. They're not going to do that with a child. But they're used to different saddles, different coaches, and all of this is again what we're talking about here. We have to be if you're not there, not only to offer encouragement, but sometimes your encouragement is guidance. As a parent, learn about the horses, learn about this isn't a drop-off time to say, okay, I've got two people with my child. I can go off and do work. Now, sometimes that might be the case. You have to make money, you have to do work. But at the same time, I'm not saying that I'm a special parent because I went out and did karate or I was a leader. But like going back to the Boy Scouts, so many people wanted me to do an autistic troop. I said, no, just join my troop. We have 7 children with special considerations from CP to autism. I said, but it's about doing your best. Okay, maybe some of the kids can't do the 5 mile hike, or we have to have special diets on a camp out and can't do s'mores because they can't have the milk and the chocolate or the sugars. We just make accommodations to make sure, but they still can camp out. But what can they do over the fire? Maybe it's a hot dog. Maybe they can hold that stick, can't hold that stick. Someone else is doing it for them. Maybe that's when we teach a young boy to hold the stick for you because you can't. It's a beautiful experience when you let it happen. Is it perfect? It never will be. Is it fun? Yes.
When I say I'm nonverbal, people should understand that I primarily use nonverbal communication. I fingerspell, verbalize some letters and words, and use body language.
Well, I mean, I know a lot of kids that should go around and say they're nonverbal. Huh? What? Hey, again, but your level of communication, your English skills and your vocabulary, you can tell you've been reading probably since you were like 6. I mean, as far as the bigger books, you always had the bigger books. But at the same time, you just use a communication device. You're not, non-articulate. You're just, again, it's just not coming out through speech.
I had to take a placement test to determine which math and English courses were best suited for me. I was placed into a 6-credit developmental English course. Don't you know that my relationship with language is complex? For example, if I am hungry, I sign or verbalize it instead of I want to eat or I am hungry. This is because in the nonverbal world, one or two words equate to a whole sentence. I waited as long as I could to take any English courses. However, despite my initial placement, my professor astoundingly informed me that I would do fine in the 3-credit version of her course. I shockingly received an A in every English course I took. One of my papers was published in the Composition
Mm,
Anthology.
mm. And that's amazing. And again, you were given the opportunities and the tools, and someone actually paid attention to your needs and offered not a lesser course, but a course that was just tailored to you. And that's perfect. And again, if you're going to major in English and promote and work with the English language as far as your, then yes, maybe you do take the 6 credit course. But do we throw a 6 credit course on someone and just take their thrill of English away from them? That's where, again, are we doing the justice to who we're working with?
What are tools and strategies for shifting mindsets?
First of all, understanding all the limitations and strengths in the medical, in the physical, and the cognitive, but also the financial. Because I'm sure there's many people right now that are going to say, Michelle, I can't afford a horse, or I can't afford Boy Scouts, or whatever. And so it might be financial limitations. Okay, what do we have to do to make you financially secure? Is it basically on your insurance? Is it the job market? There's a lot when you have a special child, right? Now it's almost like one of the things I want to do is, and maybe you're really good at that. I think we really need a Dave Ramsey to come in here and really talk to parents just about getting their finances together, because if finances are a big thing, or you think you can put Disney on a credit card, which maybe you can, you might not be able to do that with a wheelchair, and you need a line of credit. And it's a different mindset of just your family dichotomy. Now it's time. Let me know when you're ready, and I'll stop talking. But do you have 6 children?
It is super tricky.
Yeah, it's super tricky, and it's super important because, again, talking about going from Italy to Holland, you might find out I got to Holland and it's a lot more expensive than Italy. You know what I mean? And you didn't plan for those accommodations. I remember when the volcanoes went off in Iceland and shut down Europe. And all of a sudden you're thinking you're taking a 1 week trip, and now you're there for a month and 8 weeks. That's
Especially lifelong.
especially lifelong. Do we need bedding? Are we suing? What are all those kind of complexities within the family that have to do with your child? Again, you could have 6 kids. I really like multi-siblings because, you got soccer practice with one kid. Come on, you're going, versus single and isolation. I see it more when you only have one child.
Vacation.
Vacation considerations, are they where they going? Are we giving the needs to your, let's say if you have a brother, and are his needs being met as well as your needs being met? Like, are you limiting brother's experience because you're not hiking that 5 mile hike because you have to move you?
I have 2 sisters.
Mm. Right. And they need the opportunities of life experience. I see it a lot of times that siblings don't get to do anything because it's all around running to therapies and running to this. And you really, again, there's a balance that needs to be met, because you can't always be at a 5 alarm fire.
They dance.
Yeah. And also, too, that now you have to deal with it, or explore the needs of your child. Where are you medically? For the longest time, I had a bag ready to go. I never knew
Mm.
if today I was going to the hospital or if it was going to be tomorrow. So I had clothes at home, but I also had a bag ready to go, in the car, or so if I had to suddenly go, oops, we're going to a doctor, we're going to a specialist, and make sure that's there. Right. Like, even Graham is under parental guardianship, and I was discussing Graham's situation with my son this week, and he said, well, I'm the backup responsibility. And I said, no, you said you didn't want that. And I'm respecting your decisions. Maybe one day you'll change, but you're not here to raise your brother or be responsible for him for the rest of your life. I expect your participation as a family member, but it's not your legal or financial obligation, if something were to happen to me or not.
Avoid low expectations. Push boundaries with realistic challenges.
Honestly, I think that's been the best thing about having a special kids because I've really learned to make I push the boundaries. I think I would have been a lot lazier of a parent had I not had this. I don't know if I would have done karate or I might have been a drop-off parent, which again, guys, is fine. I'm not being disparaging to anybody. I'm talking about me. My son, it's one thing what you do to me, but when you mess with my kids, when people say I'm a super mom, that was thanks to my kids. I really don't think I would have been this person. I certainly wouldn't have created movement lesson.
Would I be in the disability community?
No, I mean, you wouldn't even probably be horseback riding. And look at that love, you know? I don't regret any decision I've made because I'm here. And this is such a cool place to be. I wouldn't know you. Do I wish my son was okay? Absolutely. But if my son was okay, I wouldn't have gone to Russia and Bhutan and Japan. I wouldn't be talking to you. None of these would even been on my radar.
I wouldn't be living in this house.
No, and you wouldn't be going to the school you're going to. You'd be doing, yeah. We can go on and on how your life would be different, but that you can't live like that. But you have to take a step back and say, wow, this is all pretty cool. I mean, I have books. I'm doing a podcast with you. Look at where computers have come to do all of this. I mean, if it weren't for you having a communication device, can you imagine if computers didn't exist in your life? So it's not just you.
Podcasts.
You've got podcasts, but just again, computers being in our lives. People sit there and they're so afraid of AI. AI wouldn't exist if it weren't for your community. It's challenged so many people to rise up and do things that just, I don't know, were they necessary 100 years ago? Mm.
I wouldn't know half the people that I know.
You wouldn't know any of them. But you would have had another group of people. Maybe you would have danced. Maybe you would have. It doesn't matter. Like I said, I think instead of seeing again, especially when it's new, the birth and all this, like you said, you just land and you're expecting this amazing life experience, and a lot of people see their life flash before their eyes. My child's never going to be a ballerina. Well, maybe they never would have been a ballerina. It doesn't matter. But to really to take away from this podcast, it's not only about encouraging our children and knowing how to work with our kids in a way that's just it can be such a cool experience, but take a moment and pat yourself on the back. Take a moment, and if you need those encouraging words, like what do we need to bring to you as a podcast that you're going to get that breath of release and see that sunshine and just enjoy that moment because you're incredible, but so are your kids. And it's a cool process.
Slow down in life.
Slow down, or maybe you got to ramp it up. You know what I mean? It all depends on your needs. Um, I don't sleep. But I can be a super parent just as much as I can be a super worker or a super movement lesson. I try and have balance because my boys are older. People go, "Oh, but you travel the world." Well, I wasn't doing that when he was 4. Because he needed me more. I couldn't take off. And so that's just challenges in life. But we need to just take a moment and encourage people more in life, especially on social media. It's really easy to say, "Oh, look at that person. They can't do this." It's none of your business if you can't say, "Whoop, whoop, let's do it."
Are some things you say or do to encourage your clients and or Graham?
First thing I encourage my clients is if I see certain conversations coming out, I'll look at them real like this and go, "When's the last time you've slept?" Especially the more so the moms. I'm not picking on anybody, but if you're not getting sleep because your child's having seizures, night feeds, I can go on and on where I mean, there were times I shouldn't have been driving because I was living off of 2 hours, but your hormones are off when you're starting thinking about that you can't do it because the parents go they can go all the way to suicidal. Like, would my child be better off without me? And but a lot of that is just sleep deprivation or food deprivation, like you're really, as they say, burning it on both ends. But there's very little in the health community for our people. So I look for
It's not
stability.
just until 18.
No, no, it's a life thing. But it should be with any of our kids. But it really, if they're not stable, first it's mentally, and then also to see financially. Like I said, I really would love to go after some of the big leaders and see if they would do almost like a summit for our that's maybe something you and I can work on. But bring them in because there's no guidance. There's guidance on how to save for a mortgage, but not how to save for a hospital bed.
Or we can do presentations.
Absolutely. That's another thing too we can add to our podcast is bringing in the visual to discuss. But anyway, we are here for you. We can't solve the world on one day, but we can rock your world. And this is Neurodivergence with Kay, and this is Movement Lesson with Michelle, but it doesn't matter. We're just people trying to bring awareness to encourage you and to really learn how to work with yourselves as well as work with your child, especially if they have special needs.
I challenge the audience to support someone in discovering their hidden abilities. Please comment with some of your experiences, no matter what your role is.
Absolutely. And ideas. What would you like us to cover?
Please find us on every platform you see podcasts and videos. We will continue to bring our passion, knowledge, and unique perspectives to the next episode of Rock the World coming soon.